Hey everyone, I'm really excited today to talk to you about how you can get a book published, even if you're not a writer. So I know that you think, oh, I need to be a writer or I need to know how to, structure a book. That is not the case. I'm going to start by talking to you about me first. I didn't think I was going to be a writer growing up. Now I have over 13 books. I've published over 300 books for other authors. We published a bunch of books for us, my business partner and I. But I recently found some things from when I was in fifth grade. I wrote this book for the young authors, and it's called The Terrific and Terrible Week in California. It's pretty awesome. And look, it's typed out, which I thought was hilarious because we had to type it out on our jet printer because it's from so long ago. But I wrote that one in fifth grade. And then in seventh grade, I wrote one with two of my friends called All Because of That Ticket. It's falling apart right now. And that one I wrote with Annalie Hess and Jennifer Jones. And it's a pretty short book, but I've been thinking about getting these published because why not repurpose content? Which brings me to why I brought these up. If you have content that you've already written, you don't need to go reinvent the wheel and write more, right? So think about what you've already have in your wheelhouse. You might already have blog posts. You might already have YouTube videos. You might already have TikToks or Instagram reels. You might have something that you've already created or you've been creating for the last year or 5 years. And you can take all of those and you can turn them into a book. Now, there's so many awesome tools out there. We have been using Otter, OTTER.ai for years. We've been using it to transcribe what we say. That's actually how we wrote a lot of our books that we have. Melanie and I transcribed the words that we said, and then we had an editor, ghostwriter help us to get it looking all beautiful, and then we published that book. So using tools like Otter, or there's also Fathom Note Taker now on Zoom. So you could open up Zoom, you can start talking and have Fathom Note Taker app, which is inside of Zoom, and it transcribes everything for you. Then you can take that transcription, put it into a Word document and edit it from there. Of course, if you're doing any type of, I'm talking about nonfiction books right now. If you're doing a fiction book, you could do it that way as well, but you would definitely need to, dictate more story, dictate more things and have a book coach or some type of editor helping you, a ghostwriter or editor helping you to organize it and make sure it's in the right structure, right? But for nonfiction books, it's pretty awesome because you just need to get what's in here out. Or like I said, if you're repurposing things, like if you find some old work that you did before, you could enhance it. So I've been thinking about publishing these. They're tiny little books, but I could add to them, right? I could take this and then add to it and make it an actual book. Another one I found was my stories from this is actually, I think, eighth grade. And this is a combination of a bunch of different kids in my class, but I could just take mine, of course, and I could redo that one as well. So there's so many ways to write a book today. You do not have to sit down and type that book. You don't have to write it longhand, although I did have an author who wrote all of his longhand and then he had to go and type it. So there is a bunch of ways to write the book. It just depends on what works for you. But, I think, what is it? Love Actually is one of my favorite movies. And, he goes to the remote place in France or somewhere on the beach or on the lake, and he's typing on his typewriter and the wind comes up and all the pages get blown into the water. You don't have to do that. You don't have to make it hard, right? We don't have to make it super hard. All we have to do is use the tools that are available to us today, especially for repurposing content, taking all those blog posts and putting them into a book. One of my favorite stories and one that I talk about all the time is the book, The Minimalist. If you haven't read The Minimalist, it came out a long time ago. But what they did is they took a bunch of articles from their blogs and they put it into a book. And they even say right at the beginning, this is our blogs. Like, this is our blogs. They didn't they organized it, of course, made it nice, but they didn't rewrite it. They just put their blogs in a book. They bound it into a book. They published it. And then they went on book tour and they videoed the whole book tour. And that became a Netflix movie. So you can go on Netflix, you could type in The Minimalist, you can watch it. It's their whole book tour of their first year. And then that book tour turned into a second book. So then they wrote a second book. Of course, they did a book tour for that. And now they have a second Netflix movie. So you can just see that there's multiple ways to write a book. You don't have to just sit down and type it. Of course, you'll want to use some type of editor afterwards. And when I say some type of editor, I mean a professional editor. You don't want to be hiring your sister-in-law or your mother or, somebody who just says, "Oh, I'll edit it for you. I used to be a teacher." No, you want a professional editor. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I use Grammarly, so we're good to go." Or I use spell check, right? That's good to do that, but you also want to have another set of eyes on it and an editor who knows, the specific style of writing that you're writing in. We use Chicago manual style for our commas and all those kind of things. So you really want to make sure that you're consistent in your writing. You want it to be professional. You don't want to throw a book up that hasn't been edited because then you don't look like the credible authority figure that you are, right? So you want to make sure you have a good editor. A lot of people will hire a ghostwriter. To be honest with you, I did actually hire a ghostwriter for my chapter in my book, Stand Apart. And I tell people that because I'm not trying to hide it or anything, but I was actually doing a lot of things when this book came out. I moved, I got divorced, my kids were little. So I ended up hiring a ghostwriter, and Tim actually just interviewed me on the phone a couple of times, and then he wrote my chapter for me. And it's in my voice. It's exactly what I said. He just wrote it. So you can hire a ghostwriter. We have ghostwriters on staff that actually help you to write their book. Some people don't want a ghostwriter because they want it to be more in their voice and they want to be more hands-on. And then maybe they just need a book coach or an editor and a book coach. And that looks more like, the book coach is helping you along the way of what you to write. And then they're going in and restructuring it or helping you with sentences and commas and all of those types of things, right? Making sure it sounds really good. So there's so many ways to write a book. And today you do not need to just sit down and type if that's not what you want to do. And if you don't feel like you're a writer, if you want to get what's out of your head down on paper, I would suggest using a tool like Otter or Fathom to get that written down. And then of course, hire an editor and get that edited. And then you can have your book published to help you to stand apart, just like this book says, to stand apart from the crowd and to become authority in your niche, in your field, and to get more leads and clients. So if you'd like help writing your book, we do have ghostwriters and editors that we can get you in touch with, and we can help you get your book published. I'm with Elite Online Publishing. You can contact us there at eliteonlinepublishing.com, and you can fill out the author submission form. We are looking forward to working with you, and you can become an author in 2025, even if you're not a writer.